I want to call this meeting to order. It's, oops, I forgot about this. It's November 9th. Oh my God, November 2nd, 2023. And I call this regular session of the Swampscott School Committee to order. If you can stand and want to do so, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Today we don't have anyone in for Love of Learning, so we're just going to go right to committee comments. Start down with you, Glenn.
I actually don't have anything this evening.
All right, pass it on.
I just wanted to say, I'm actually glad that you're here. I wanted to say I thought that last week wound up being a really good presentation. I was very concerned with what Dr. Bacon had presented, but I thought through good fortune, we had a great presentation. I just wanted to note that because I think if people haven't watched it, it's worth watching. And actually, I got a comment from a parent who, after reading it in the Lynn item, said, is this something that I need to be concerned about? I said, I don't think so, and quoted you. But I thought maybe it would be a good opportunity, especially with the parent square, that it might be worth having a recap of that, maybe with an attachment to it, so that all parents could see it. I think that that having it set up against, the data set up against the actual daily teaching and learning that is happening in the buildings, I thought it was a really interesting.
Can I push back a little bit?
Sure.
So that was a really long school committee meeting.
Yeah.
And I think if I summarize it in writing versus watching the presentations, it's very different. I would like to encourage parents and families and guardians and caregivers to really just watch that section, watch the presentation, watch the concerns, but then listen to the high school, even, fast forward through some of the high school, but listen to the summaries of Mr. Kohut and Mr. Calichman that really are in the day-to-day stuff. I did just mention to Mrs. Wright that coincidentally something was sent out to superintendents about a potential grant of $10,000 to address chronic absenteeism across the state, and so I threw our hat in the ring this morning. So some of the things we're facing, we're not facing alone. I have a pile of newspapers, the item that I haven't caught up on yet, but I also met with Dr. Bacon on Monday, as we typically meet, and we talked about things that we need to look at, and we really need to dig down and figure out what is it. Is there more than one factor? Is there one factor? But I don't know, not that I don't want to summarize it, and I certainly can try, but I think you really get a better sense watching just that section of the school committee meeting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I do think, though, that that piece of the puzzle saying, this is something that we know about and we are digging into is really important. Okay. Because that was one of the pieces that was not part of the item. And, I don't know how much people actually read that, but
right.
If
I just want to mention, Mr. Dulett, I don't think my microphone's on.
And then the only other thing that I wanted to point out was, and it was something that I could hear from across town, I could actually hear the marching band at last Friday's game, and it was like a major improvement over the week before, and it was really exciting to hear, and I know the kids were really excited to be there to support them. So congratulations to the new band.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess just to kind of follow up on the marching band, they did a great job on Friday night. We were at that game, very exciting, and players did a great job as well. I just had a couple things, just more sport related than anything else. Just the high school cheerleaders are at an NEC tournament tonight, so we'll see how they do. I mentioned when I first came in that I got a text on the way over that field hockey team had won. So very exciting there. And I didn't know Sam wasn't going to be here, but they have a football game tomorrow night in Linfield, playoff game, so good luck to them. So that's it, Suzanne, so back to you.
Karen, do you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight.
And I just wanted to add, John, also, the boys soccer team is playing the first tournament game on Sunday. So another team, so volleyball, I know volleyball played on Wednesday.
I believe they lost, but all our teams were in
Yeah.
tournament play, and that's pretty impressive. And I have to say, that's been, our teams are going to tournament play. It's like expected now. It's like the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. We've kind of expected it. And the kids work hard, and I just think it's fantastic. We have a very strong athletic program.
Well, and kudos to the AD for sending it out using
Yes,
Square.
that was, by the way, that was great.
She's been communicating,
That's great.
I shouldn't say she, Kelly Wolf has been communicating, always well on Twitter, or now X, but the Parent Square use, I get them all, so I see them, and I think that's really helpful,
The other thing I wanted to tell you guys is that last week, I forgot to mention, I went to a METCO event last, 2 Saturdays ago now, 2 Sundays ago. It was a show in Boston that METCO puts on. They put on a presentation in conjunction with Emerson Theater, and it was a fantastic show, and they do this all the time, and they try to highlight things that sort of pertain to METCO or different races or different nationalities or sort of diversity, and they invite anyone who's family and friends of METCO to join, and it was a real honest-to-God performance for $10, and then beforehand you get to sit, you get invited to a reception, right, and I got to sit next to someone who was in the very first METCO class and graduated in 1970.
Wow.
And I talked to someone else that graduated in 1980, and you get to meet, there was some school committee and the superintendent from Needham were there, and it was sort of a nice meet and greet and a good opportunity to talk to people, and I thought next time I go, I'm gonna invite some of our parents, our METCO parents there, because I didn't see any, but I just want to, if you guys see that on the Monday message, there's another show coming up really soon. It's for anyone in the district. I mean, it's for anyone really, but it was a really great opportunity. I talked to Millie for a while, just to have that. It was just really nice. So I just encourage you guys, if you see this or if I see it again, I'm gonna send it out to all of you, because it was really fun. I took 2 other people from Swampscott, and we had our little contingents. If you look at the METCO message, you'll see our picture. It was all good. Anyway, just wanted to give a shout out for that, because it's a really unbelievable, the reception beforehand was so great, and the director of the production comes to speak and answer questions and talk about the production. It was just great. So anyway, on to reports and discussions.
All right, I'll take it away. Superintendent's report. So the first item on the agenda is a field trip, and as Mrs. Wright had said earlier, typically field trips can go on the consent agenda. However, being an overnight trip, and also this is a trip that has been done historically in 6th grade, but it's probably been about 4 years since it has occurred. So I felt it was important with new committee members for our team to come before you and kind of go through what it is, where it is, how it ties to the standards. So thank you, Ms. Rapisarda and Mr. Calichman, for coming tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Song?
You want to bring up the
Do
flyer?
you want to use your screen, or want me to do it for you?
We're green.
They're just
You
gonna
can hear
talk
us, right?
from the
We're good?
flyer.
Okay.
So thanks for having us here tonight. As you know, last year was the first time we brought back our 8th grade DESE trip, which was a huge success. I mean, that is sort of the rite of passage trip in middle school. And those 4 years we didn't have it, the excitement from the kids last year, it really, to be honest with you, it kind of brought the whole class together. They had a rough run. They missed 2 years of middle school because with COVID, and it was tough sledding there for a while, but they really came together as a class. And I think our goal is to sort of have those experiences so classes come together a little bit earlier. The hands-on activities in Nature's Classroom and the team building activities are really that's the biggest appeal. Beyond that, the academic connections as well. I mean, they're connected to almost every single standard. Sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. This also got brought up at curriculum night. I should have started with this, sorry. Curriculum nights were great. The number one question I had, because I stand at the end when everybody's leaving, I'm trying to, how to go, kind of dangerous question, but everything's great. The number one question I had from the sixth graders is Nature Classroom coming back? How do we get that back? And the reason why I was reluctant to do it wasn't because of anything other than cost. I'm very cognizant of the fact that the DESE trip is extremely expensive, and we want to give families time to prep for that. And after COVID, obviously, everything's been just so expensive, as you know. And the cost was, the first reports were that the cost was really high, and I didn't want to do that to families. However, I then talked to Ms. Rapp and Ms. Wood and Ms. Wozni, and they said, well, let us do some digging, see if we can find maybe a different venue or a different time. We can do some fundraising. Let's see if we can make it reasonable. So really, we think we're going to have the cost of the trip down to $350, which is excellent, including buses. I mean, that is all in, which is great. So
The last time we went, when we went in 2019, it was $270.
Wow.
So we're
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're hoping with some fundraising, we do have quite a few fundraising activities already lined up that are going to be, at the local restaurants, hoping to do the meal share where we get a profit there. But we also have an open gym planned, a movie night planned, and we have some other things that the kids want to take part in. And hopefully we can, have them enjoy raising the money to be part of it.
So there's great STEAM activities, STEM activities. There's a lot of student choice, collaborative learning. There's a level of independence there. Obviously, they're leaving home for a couple days. Mm-hmm. So you go through all of those. I mean, there's so many things at play. I mean, there's kids that are going to be homesick. There's kids that are just psyched to be out of the classroom for a couple of days. But really, we hit the gamut. And I think that, the teachers are really excited to do it. Obviously, they're volunteering their time and their overnights. Great Barrington's a little bit further of a haul than Lake Ossipee is, where we used to do it. It's 2.5 hours away, but that hasn't seemed to be a deterrent. We already have, I think, 8 or 9 teachers who have volunteered. Wow. We haven't even opened it up yet. We haven't even asked for volunteers yet. So that's just like off the cuff.
It's the Great Barrington site it's a nicer looking site than where we used to go in Groton. And I've been in contact with the guy Mr. Anderson, who runs the program at Great Barrington, and we're actually going to be doing a Zoom informational session where he's going to talk to the kids. If we get your approval, that he'll Zoom with the kids and give them all the information, show pictures and all that, and then we'll have another informational session with the parents if they have any questions for later that evening. So we're going to do a kid session and then a parent session.
That's great.
And answer any questions that way.
And our goal always when we have a field trip like this, or any field trip really, is any kid who wants to go, we want to be able to figure out a way for them to go. So between the fundraising, and now listen, it's not always a money issue. It's baseball season or soccer season, or, I have a family commitment. It could be a myriad of things, but we just want anybody that wants to be there and have that experience. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Just thought of it right now. So the kids that don't go on the Washington trip go to Camp Mandrake. What will be happening back here for a 6th grade?
So we have 2 teachers that we think are staying back.
Okay.
They're science and math teachers, and they're going to run their own camp
Yes.
where they're doing, outdoor activities as much as possible for anybody who stays back.
That's great.
We haven't come up with a catchy name for it
That's
yet.
okay, I'm sure they will, but I know Camp Mandrake is incredibly popular, so, I 150% support this, but I felt like the committee needed to ask questions.
Anyone?
I mean, I just remember from when my kids went, and it's just an amazing program.
They put a lot into it.
Yeah.
I've noticed, I've gone all the years before that, and
Right.
before 2019, and what they've done now is so much more, it seems so much more organized.
Right.
And they've just put a lot of time and effort and energy into making the program that much better after COVID.
Great.
To attract new people, and it just looks, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a great learning experience, especially for those kids who have never either gone to overnight camp or, this is really their opportunity to do something kind of uncomfortable for themselves. So I think it's great.
I think it's a great idea also, and thank you for coming. And I actually have a question. I remember when my kids did it, we went to those parent sessions, and like a lot of the questions were around, hey, what's the food like? What do you have for food? And,
Yeah.
and
Sleeping, they all want to know where they're going to sleep.
right.
They're saying, what cabin am I in?
But, I know, I can only speak for my kids, but, they kind of wanted, firm answers on the food for sure. It's like, before they were like, got really comfortable, so.
So I mean, when we've gone in the past, they do things like family style, so, and I always found the food to be really good, and they do meet, like, if you're a vegan, or if you have other nutritional needs, or allergies, or whatever, they do have separate menu for that. We just have to notify them in advance, so they're super accommodating that way.
There's a lot of options. Sorry, there's a salad bar. There's,
Yeah.
There's
Food's
such
good.
there's a wide variety of options. I think another nice thing is when you eat, when Ms. Rapp said family style, they have one of the kids at each meals have waiter, and then somebody cleans the tables, and somebody, everybody kind of has a job and puts in their own. We're going to start
Just
doing
like
it.
summer camp.
Right, definitely.
Not quite how it works in the middle school
Right.
calf, but
It's just like home.
Yeah.
Just like home.
That's why I'm going with camp. It was forced at camp.
But I will say that one of the things that the kids come back super cognizant of is I believe they call it the ORT report. It's the waste. So they weigh the waste after every single meal. And then, at least for a couple of weeks, when we get back, they're always sort of like checking each other's tray and checking each other's lunch. What are you throwing away? But I think it's nice that they're starting to think in that mindset and globally.
Not wanting to be controversial, what do you guys do about phones for the kids?
We take the phones at the beginning of the trip, and then so each chaperone gets a bag of phones. We put them in a Ziploc bag. We carry them with us
Yeah.
in event of emergency, and then they do get phone time to call parents, like just before dinner.
Yep.
Great.
I remember those calls.
Just like camp,
Yeah.
yeah.
15 minutes, and then we collect the phones again.
That's awesome. That's great strategy.
It's the same. This is the DC strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. I had to ask, just out of
Yeah.
curiosity.
I'm just thrilled that it's coming back, so.
Ah, thank God. Really.
It's a thrill.
I just had a fundraising thought for you guys too. I don't know if you're working with the PTO, but now that Big Blue Bargains is open again, they have it so anyone who volunteers can designate a school or a fund to donate money to. So for every hour someone works, they get paid in donations somewhere. So if you could get a group of parents together or whatever, just to encourage people to go volunteer there and
That sounds good. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're definitely looking for all kinds of ideas.
yeah.
We want the kids to be involved and take part in that part.
Right.
But we need as many ideas as possible, so thank you.
I know.
So I hear that is a vote of support.
Do we need to take a
Yes.
formal vote?
Yes, for sure, but we'll just take the vote when we take the votes, but yeah, I mean,
Great.
that seems like the
It's gonna be
temperature of the committee is an aye.
Yes, and I, absolutely.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Coming
guys.
in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on, the next item is my superintendent action plan, and I had given access to everybody if they wanted to make comments or edits. If you want to, it's not, I think it's on the agenda.
I think it's linked.
The new agenda, it is linked to.
Oh, okay, hold on.
So I'm not going to go through this word by word unless the committee wants me to. It's pages and pages, but I have revised some of my goals. I took into consideration the feedback that the committee gave me when I first presented this, but also in working with Dr. Bacon and also working on the edits of the core strategic plan, which we have all these meetings going on. I adjusted them so that they're much more aligned. In addition to that, I do want to tell the committee that at yesterday's leadership team meeting, I can bring it up here.
I know,
Fine.
I want to open it, it's not opening all the way.
You can't see that, the arrow up there. See that arrow in the upper right, next to the X?
I know, hold on a second.
note down.
Yep, I see it,
Yep.
sorry. I just,
Um,
I had my pictures over
Okay.
it.
So I say this because it's tied to this, that I know we've talked about, after last week's presentation from Mr. Kohut and Mr. Calichman, we've talked about the school improvement plans coming back around. And at yesterday's leadership team meeting, we really focused on the template. I went back to 1819, where we gave the committee one book, all of the school improvement goals, all of their plans in there, the membership makeup, our core goals are in there as well, and my goals are in there. So yesterday was a real kickoff to the schools meeting with their councils, talking about what they're charged with doing, and really, first meeting is going to be developing a needs assessment at every school. And, you know, we talked about how at the elementary school, it's really not about what's happening in the elementary schools now. It's kind of a little bit different in that it's going to be, what do you want in the future? And so, and the three elementary principals have really come together with wording that in a way that, you know, here are our goals, here's what we're working on, what do you see now that you would like to see in the one school? So anyway, that was a kickoff. And as I said, my goals, my new goals, are in that plan for the committee, the councils to work off of. So I took your advice and separated goal 1 and goal 3 into 2 years. I did work on goal 3, year 2, Dr. Bacon and I adjusted a bit because the steering committee for the core committee, which I am on, we were adjusting those and editing that work as well. If you go to the next page, I did start breaking it down into dependencies. We've talked for many years about who are the dependencies and what are you doing. I have started adding in some it's actually nice to have this because a lot of my week this week was spent outlining the tasks that need to happen for the transition to the new elementary school. And Susan McCann, our moving consultant, and I had a very long meeting, and our draft is 150 items that have to be addressed. And so I started to add into the goals, like, oh, did this. So anyway, the Parent Square rollout I put under the action item. That is, if you click on that, that is everything that we did and how we did it. I said to see the document because that really was the action item that started way back in the summer, actually in the spring. So if you bring that up, you'll see those were the tasks that we started, and there's a very similar document to the transition for the new elementary school. And so having this template done, as much as it took a lot of time, now allows me a place to park the evidence under the progress notes, so that when the mid-year progress comes up next year, it'll all be right here. I mean, it's a daunting task, but it's worth it. So if you go on to the second goal, classroom instruction, promote the use of universal design for learning, which we have been doing. You've often heard from Dr. Bacon, universal design for learning, and MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of supports. That's all part of the work that we're doing. And again, there's a place for me to park my progress notes. There's subcommittee work, there's the dependencies. Obviously, the Director of Teaching and Learning is heavily involved in all of these things, but in AR going over 2 years. If we go to the third goal, still working on this, we are, year 1 is collaborate and comprehensively review the teacher evaluation tool. That is something I'm putting the committee together, and I know that there will be representative from the school committee, and I'd love for you all to make the decision about who is going to be part of that committee to evaluate, to revisit the evaluation tool and help us tweak it. And then the second part of this goal being that 85% of students, families, and teachers will report the curriculum and pedagogy of the Swampscott Public Schools meet our definition of culturally responsive and sustaining education. So again, I've added in action items for year 1, action items for year 2. I'd like to think this is fluid, and some of these things might change as we're moving along, but I do definitely want to keep visiting this and bringing it back to the committee as needed. Goal 4 right now, I'm still working on. We need to definitely collect baseline data on underrepresented groups to include statistics and student narrative regarding access. And how I'm going to do that just yet, I haven't determined. This is where the core work is part of this. So I really would like to sit with Dr. Bacon and fill that in. But this last one is where a lot of my time goes. And this is the transition to the new elementary school. And I broke it down into leadership, communication, needs assessment, curriculum integration, staff training and development, community engagement, student transition programs, approval rating surveys, and continuous improvement. And what I can say right now is I haven't put in the document that Susan McCann and I started because it is just a draft and it's kind of an internal document right now. But what we have done is we've already had, and I may be repeating myself, we already had an all elementary school volunteer meeting in this room with as many of the elementary teachers, staff, faculty and staff and administration that wanted to come. I'd say we probably had about 40 people. It was to set the stage and basically introduce Susan, and the Stanley teachers knew Susan, so it was a familiar face and it made them feel very settled. And we talked very high level about just because you don't hear, there's silence for a little bit, don't think that things aren't happening, because that's where people go. And also, you know, understand that we're leading this work and let us do the worry. We also, Ms. Mackey-Knowles last spring, because people were panicking, we started a Google form where they can park their worries. And what Susan McCann does is she goes in and answers them. And she did this same process with Stanley. So they're not waiting to come to a meeting so that we can answer them. She's on the fly, answering those questions, trying to settle people. We talked a lot about how boxes, you won't get boxes until after MCAS next year. We don't do that, but what could be done now? So in addition to that meeting, which was very well received, we showed them some of the furniture that is going to be in their classrooms. The next meeting will be showing them floor plans of a second grade classroom, floor plans of a third grade classroom. And they can really walk away with it and know, they can envision their closets because nobody knows what storage they have right now. The other thing is we wanted to emphasize early that nothing, no furniture, no rugs, no easels, nothing is coming to the new school, because the way the classrooms will be set up, and I think I said this before, is the way they need to stay set up so we can inventory everything. And then, so following that meeting, Susan, Max, Cheryl, and I are we toured Clark one afternoon for a couple of hours so that Susan could get an idea of the hot spots and, for example, the gym stage. The kindergarten classrooms, the first grade classrooms have a lot of stuff. The upper grades, they look like they're in good shape. They could probably move tomorrow. But so we're going to, from that, Susan and I made some buckets, like December, this is what you're going to have to do. February, this is what you're going to have to do before April vacation. And at our next meeting, we'll lay those out. So we toured every inch, including the attic, of Clark School. And what we probably will be bringing before you is some surplus right away. There's some extra desks and chairs in the attic up there that if they're not going to be used in the district, we could start declaring surplus. We could start giving out to other districts. We are scheduled on November 20th to spend quite a few hours at Hadley, which is going to be a lot of spots. And Mr. Norkin walked with us at Clark, and Ms. Sanborn's going to walk with us at Hadley. But this is a very similar process to what we did at Stanley, and it feels good to be on track. I am meeting with Dr. Bacon and the curriculum specialists on Monday. We have 5 this year. It turns out that's one is at every grade level. There's a K, there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 4. And we need to start talking about, first of all, what realistic materials manipulatives should be coming with you. And also, we need to start working with Dr. Bacon. Those curriculum specialists are going to work with her about, you know, what are the curriculum materials coming in kindergarten? What are the curriculum materials coming in first grade? So all of that is already happening, and I know it's only November, but it feels like it's the right time to be doing it. But there's a lot of meeting, a lot of conversations, and a lot of people working really hard. So I'm sure this goal is going to have a lot of information for you to see, but between the school council's meeting and really starting on their school improvement plans, keeping the elementary teachers involved, I've laid out the schedule of elementary meetings already, and we've penciled in the month of March doing tours for the elementary teachers, and they'll be broken down into grade levels so that maybe it's K1 in the lower school, or K1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do several weeks of group tours so that they get to see it in March, and then also again in June. So they have already received a calendar of when our meetings, our all elementary meetings are going to be for the year, with the exception of March and June when we're going to do tours for them. So a lot of organization. You look confused. You look very serious. So anyway, you know, I'm going to be very honest with you. I depend on my Director of Teaching and Learning to keep this district running and to stay on the curriculum, work with the curriculum specialists and the content specialists. If I'm going to be completely honest in terms of family engagement, core work, and this goal are really the ones where my focus needs to be. You know, I'm not going to say any more, but it's exciting, but it's a daunting project. So,
I have one thing that sort of jumped out at me. On goal 3, on the first page, under the sort of the broad goals,
yep,
year 2,
Yes.
it says by 2025, 25% of the courses at each grade level will have been reviewed, revised, et cetera, in order to fit in with our culturally responsible.
that seems very low. Is that what's
Well,
struck you?
so that in comparison to on page, under your goal 3, where it says that by year 2, 85% of students, families, and teachers will report that the curriculum and pedagogy.
That could be a typo.
Okay.
I'll double check that. Thank you.
That was the only thing that
Thank
jumped
you.
out at me. And I know that they're slightly different,
I'll
but
double check that, especially against the core work.
I just have a quick question, and I should preface it by saying, well, thank you for that first. Preface it by saying, I want you to hear this in a completely positive,
Okay.
complimentary manner. Okay?
But I don't take things that way.
No, so I just want to say that first. So you said something that kind of piqued my curiosity, and I guess I'm wondering why the superintendent is going through the attic at Clark and not someone else, and it seems like your skill set should be devoted to higher and better things.
What I learned when we closed Stanley is that there's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of other meetings happening that I'm not included in, and people can just report to me. I'm so visual that I don't want somebody reporting on what has to be done. I want to be able to say, in my mind, did we clean that attic? I learned that I had to be in the muck for the Stanley closing, and I feel like this is after school, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. Am I going to start writing another report or am I going to take a tour and really see with my own eyes? I don't have to keep going back there, but I need to see it at the very beginning so that I can make sure when I'm talking to Susan, I know what she's talking about. It's hard, I guess it's hard. I'm just so visual that if somebody says, oh, the attic's kind of full. Well, I taught at Clark for 11 years. The attic's kind of full. The attic used to be bursting at the seams. So if they came back, like Susan saw it and she's like, oh, and I'm looking at it like, wow, this looks good compared to what it used to be. So everybody's perception is a little bit different. So I feel like because I was at Stanley and a principal there, and because I taught at Clark, I wanted to see it with my own eyes.
I think I just want to add, it's actually more efficient for her to do it like this, because what's happening is people are saying, okay, we have a question about all these things, and she's going to have to go anyway.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Right.
So
Right.
it just makes sense to
I will chime.
But I agree with you.
I was going to say, I will chime in, and the superintendent and I have had this conversation
agree.
since the closing of Stanley, and I have said, isn't there somebody that should be doing this for you? And this woman who I'm sorry, I can't recall her, Susan, is, but you still have to have that broad
But when I now
knowledge.
direct somebody to go to the attic and count all the units of desks and chairs, and they come back and they say, oh, there's so many chairs. Yeah, but there are 3 different chairs up there. Do you have the heights on those chairs? Like, that's the kind of stuff I keep in my mind that will help facilitate this process. Yeah, will I go back up there again? No, now Susan will go over there and tell me where things stand. But the initial walkthrough, I really feel like I have to do. But it was like from 2:30 to almost 4:30, so it was after the kids had left. And I think it gives me a baseline of the work that needs to be done.
I think in the end, and I'll reiterate what you've said, you know, your skills, especially as a tenured superintendent, are very rich. And the amount of work that's going on in our district, especially with the core and the seed work, is really intense. So I just worry that I don't want you spread too thin.
I am taking care of myself.
Okay.
I'm keeping that in mind because there's a lot going on. But I want to say something because, actually, I want to give credit to Mr. Calichman because this is an example of how the work that we're doing is really driving our thought process. So I haven't even sent the email out to the union yet, but, you know, it was parent conferences, no more Zoom. And Mr. Calichman said to me, but aren't we family engagement? Isn't that our focus? So you're not going to offer Zooms to people that might live in Boston? Changed our whole thinking. But when you talk about living the work, that was a question like, okay, the teachers are in person, but if a parent from Boston or Nahant or even Swampscott can't get out for a 15-minute meeting, I'm gonna put out a notice that says, yes, you can have a Zoom, because isn't our ultimate goal family engagement? So that was something that, you know, I was checked on, like, okay, you can make that, because I was thinking pandemic, you know. No, it's about what our work is. And so I will be putting out a notice saying that, you know, teachers will be in the buildings, but if a family needs a Zoom, then we certainly will accommodate. So it's just, I think I was really proud that somebody called me on, like, wait, we're trying to engage families. And so it's a great team, and I just want to recognize that Mr. Calichman brought that up. So anyway, lots of work to be done. I do understand that, you know, when I was director of facilities as superintendent, my skills were better served doing other things too. But there is something to be said about having a visual in my mind of what these spaces look like and what needs to be done, and then I think Susan likes to be on the same page with me to start, and then she takes it and runs. But remember that space, she'll say, you know, so, and it just worked really well from Stanley.
This has nothing to do with anything we need to worry about, but who does Susan work for?
Hill International,
Okay, so that,
our OPM,
Okay.
our owner's project manager.
it's just fascinating to me that somebody can have a whole career of,
She was 20 years in the
Moving
Boston
schools.
Public Schools.
Helping people move, right?
yeah.
I think she said she's like done 126
Yeah,
schools or
I mean, when
something.
you think about, you know, what you wanna be when you grow up.
Yeah.
This isn't something that even crosses on your radar, so
The minutia she thinks about that I wouldn't think about
great.
is a real skill. She started that spreadsheet and I was like, and then she categorized visually low, high, medium priorities, and I'm just taking
great.
notes. So she's a dynamo, and we're very, very lucky to have her again because she already knows our community and our district from the Stanley closing. So, okay, so next on the agenda is new student enrollment information. As you know, there's an October 1 report, and I'll be reviewing what those reports are. Many, many years ago, we created a data specialist position within this district, and that is not a fluff position. That is Christine James in my office, and the amount of state reporting that needs to be done is substantial. And so she does all of the reporting, and also she's the Aspen guru within the district. But I'm a little disappointed looking at these lists because if you remember, a few meetings ago, I gave you a preliminary list and thought that we had 100 more new students in our district, and I did, you know, couch it in that it was preliminary, but we thought there were 159 new student registrations. If you look at this list, there's 141. That doesn't change the graphs that have been shared with you prior. you can see when we were talking about, you know, are we having a lot of immigrant families come? You can tell who's out of the country. And when I went over that at that previous meeting, I talked about Bangladesh, Guatemala, but you can see charter, you can see out of the country listed here. And these numbers in terms of how many, 44, it says from the high school, 44 new students at the high school, I think 63 at the middle school.
One more today, that's for sure.
Oh, 64 at the middle school. Okay, we're getting up there. 10 at Blaney, 7 at Clark, and 17 at Hadley. So this is the report that we give to you annually. It's the most accurate because this is the data that is being shared at the state level. I do find it interesting. I love to look at who's come back from private. And if you scan this, it just makes me proud that we're offering something. There's a lot of Massachusetts private students that have come back. So anyway, this is for your perusal.
I know that this isn't part of your report, but in terms of new students, obviously all the kindergartners are. How big is the class this year comparatively?
Only, it's small, which is why it's 131. That's in one of our next documents.
Okay.
When our average class sizes are 150, 160, so it's relatively small, which is interesting because we thought we would potentially need another kindergarten class, and it isn't. So 131, you'll see that in one of the upcoming enrollment, and our first grade is 164. But you can also look at our fourth grade, that's 139. So it's really, it's all over the place. But if you look at the next document, that is our withdrawn students report, and we had 82 students withdraw. What struck me about this is I do believe this is the lowest number of state privates again. Middle school lost 3 students to private schools. That's pretty impressive when you think that some of the private schools that have middle schools now. And then in-state private at the high school was 11. So we had 13 students withdraw from Clark, and it's broken down into in-state private, in-state public, out-of-state, and then we had 10 students at Hadley. We had 12 students in Stanley. We had 13 students at the middle school total, and 32 students at the high school. And it does say that we had 1 dropout, plans unknown. But if you look at, you know, you figure transferred to out-of-state, those are moves. Those aren't anything that, you know, we can control. But this is the population of withdrawn students.
Do you know any more information about the 4 Metco students or 8 Nahant residents?
I don't. I do know that some of our Metco students left the program for reasons they went back to the Boston Public Schools or they moved. And the Nahant residents, I'm not sure. I imagine it's the same. They might have moved. But I can find out more information. So the next link.
So sorry to
Sure.
round it to beat this. So it's usually like 100.
Right, so there's we're up by 43.
Okay.
44 as of today.
Great.
Yeah, so our enrollment is increasing. I just don't know why, and I was hesitant to share that preliminary report because I thought we were close to 100. I thought we were at 159 registrations, but there's so much paperwork until you start getting error reports from the state and going through it, which Mrs. James has been doing for weeks. And so we're up by about 44 students. So this next document is just something I share with the committee year over year to highlight what October 1 reports are submitted to the state and are required. And it is another daunting task where I'll hear Mrs. James talking about how many errors came through, and she has to go in and correct all those errors. But there are 3 reports we call SIMS, EPIMS, and student course schedules. So the SIMS is Student Information Management System, and it's important to just break down that there's 52 student data fields per student in our district that have to be reported on, and all that data has to be clean. And then we have the education personnel information management system, where there's 38 staff roster data fields. So 38 fields for every staff member, 52 fields for every student, and then there's 13 data fields per course per student within the district. And these are all due in October. I believe they're also due in June. At least the student information management system happens again, the SIMS report in the spring. And so when the school year starts, this is what is ahead of our data specialists. And these aren't the only reports that are done. There's constantly new reports, ways to report them. Mrs. James is constantly on, well, it says right here, there's a combination of 10 reports submitted throughout the school year, but there are also webinars, and the breakdown of these schedules, the schedule and the documentation is on the second page of this memo. And I just think it's important for the school committee to know that.
Will you remind me, is Ms. James's position, I know she's full-time, but is it full-time data?
Yes. Full-time data. She also works with, she's now working with the facilities department in Aspen. She works with Ms. Mackie Knowles on data in Aspen and Parent Square. You know, it is nothing but numbers, and there is not anyone better because she's very, very detail-oriented and very conscientious. So this was a position that we saw the need for long before other districts, and now other districts are implementing it, so I'm really proud of that. And then the last report I have for you is something that I get, Mrs. James updates all the time, but this gives you a breakdown of, this is the official 10/2/23 report. So this is where we see that we're up by about 43 students. You can see the class sizes. So that kindergarten class, if it were 140, 150, would change the number significantly, but it's not. That doesn't mean that we won't get kindergartners coming in first grade and increase that total class size during the next school year. But the breakdown of elementary classes, you will see Clark, Hadley, and Stanley listed there. And then you can also see the Nahant students, you can see the Metco students, and you can see other, which I don't know what the other is, now that I'm asking that. But it's nice to see that our Metco numbers are at 56 because we did graduate a lot of students last year. In addition, it is also nice to see that we did bring in, we have a kindergarten student this year, we have a couple in first grade, and I look forward, as we've talked about as a committee, or you've talked about as a committee, really increasing our enrollment in our Metco program when the new elementary school opens, because that is what's best for the kids.
I bet other is teacher.
Oh, it could be, but we don't have that many. I don't think we
Or
have that many.
maybe homeless students?
Could be homeless, could be our teacher, out of non-resident teachers bringing their kids in. I'd have to go back and look at that number as well, which I didn't do, and I probably should have.
It
But
does look low enough that it's probably has a fair amount of teacher.
could be, and could be a couple of homeless, but, so this gets updated periodically, certainly in the fall and in the spring, but as things change significantly, Chris will update it and give us a new one.
So these are kids who are here now.
Yes,
So yeah, that's a big difference between kindergarten and first grade.
yes, 30 kids.
And Superintendent, the 2120 number, I don't want to put you on the spot. How does
Sure.
that compare to last year?
It is up by 43.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 2079, 2120 is a difference of 43, and now 44 if we had another new registration at middle school.
It's good to know going into budget season.
It is.
We're actually,
One trending upward, right.
How many kindergarten classrooms are there right now?
7,
And first grade?
8, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, we had to move that kindergarten teacher to first grade.
Okay.
So you can see that they're,
So that might be like a ladder effect.
it's always, I don't want to say always.
But when
Typically,
there's
there's been a bubble
like
year.
that.
Right. So, but you can see the number of classes at the elementary level through those charts on the right. And finally, I couched it as the district crisis team update, but then I realized I had more to say, so it really comes out to be a superintendent's report, which I'll be sure to share out. I wanted to review for the entire committee district crisis teams and crisis plans and the meaning of them, because I think you hear from parents when a tragedy occurs in another school district. What do we do? What do we have? And so I felt like it was really important to kind of break it down more thoughtfully at tonight's meeting. And so I'm just going to take you through some bullet points that every school has its own building-based crisis team that meets throughout the year. And it is led by the principal and/or assistant principal, and obviously includes our school resource officer. It includes the nurse. It includes point people within the building that might have two-way radios all of the time. And I'm going to jump to where it says, really, what is the goal of crisis teams? And the goals of the crisis teams are mitigation, prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. You know, a crisis team could be called together when a teacher becomes ill, when a student passes away, when a teacher passes away, when there is any kind of emergency. It is the job of the administration to pull that crisis team together and make sure that the people that are part of that crisis team are fulfilling their roles and responsibilities. So as a result, every school has a crisis response plan. We do not share that crisis response plan because that is the inner workings of what we do. But rest assured, not only do we have crisis response plans for every building, we have medical emergency response plans. That's required by the state, and we are required to submit those updated plans every 2 years. That doesn't mean we don't update them internally. We're just required to send them to the state every 2 years. In addition to the building-based crisis teams, there is a district crisis team that I lead. And the difference is representatives from the building crisis teams are part of the district crisis teams, and we have the benefit of having police, fire, and DPW at my team. So on October 11th, we had our fall meeting. We typically have a fall, winter, and spring meeting, and then as needed. If something comes up, we call a district crisis team meeting, you know, immediately. When the pandemic hit, I think on March 13th, we called the district crisis team together. So our first meeting was in October, and some of the things we talked about was we shared the I Love You Guys program with the town agencies, and we went over, Officer Wilson and Miss Mackie Knowles went over the slides that were shared with the staff and with the leadership team. And we also shared with them these emergency cards, the language. We talked about the multi-year rollout and how the biggest part of this plan, which we need to roll out next year, is, you know, reunification. That's something that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. And that came as a result of the St. John's Prep situation and really trying to do that well. So that's something they're all working on. But it was nice for them to know, you know, we're not doing Alice anymore. They heard the same, why are we not doing Alice? We're coming up with a common language. This is what's in every room. The district had these laminated, posted in every space in the school system. And so it was a great meeting. We also talked about the new evacuation spaces for each school because we will be doing evacuation drills. And those were reviewed and listed. I didn't list them here, but every school, including preschool, has an evacuation site, and we will be practicing those drills. And then we finally, the timing is coincidental, but we talked about the PA system at the high school and the fact that we had applied for a grant and that it is a major safety concern. And then we also talked about, Mr. Harris brought up the fact that there is now a new law that is part of the medical emergency response plan next year in '24 and '25, we have to include behavioral health medical response plan. So as part of that medical emergency response plan, there has to be behavioral health plan within that. So I hope you all know this now, so when something happens in a neighboring community and people say, well, what are our plans? How come we don't know them? It's not that we don't know them, it's that we don't advertise them. And that every year, annually at that fall meeting, we give the town agencies a binder with every school's updated plan, contact information, what the roles and responsibilities are, the floor plans of the building, updated floor plans of the building with room numbers, teacher assignments. So everybody involved knows the plans when they need them. But then I will end on this very happy news that we got, and I want to shout out to Officer Wilson, Max Casper, and LaTanya Mackey-Knowles for their work on this COPS grant. We were notified, and the top link, Mrs. Wright, is the official grant notification that we received today. I thought I printed it out. It is, I am going to indulge and, I think, read it if I do have it.
It's on the thing. Can you read it? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can't. Let me get my glasses on. Okay, I read it. So this is from the U.S. Department of Justice. It says, Dear Director of Finance, Herrick Stella, you're the money woman. On behalf of the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, and the Office of Community
Oriented.
or I think I should probably bring it up here, because I can't, even with my glasses, I'm not, thank you. And the Office of the Community Oriented Policing Services, COPS Office, it is my pleasure to inform you that we have approved your proposal for the FY23 COPS School Violence Prevention Program in the amount of $310,544. The COPS Office recognizes and appreciates your commitment to this very important initiative. At the COPS Office, our mission is advancing community policing nationwide. We prioritize this by supporting state, local, tribal, and territorial law enforcement agencies as they carry out their vital public safety missions. The project you will implement with these award funds contributes to the mission of the COPS Office and the greater goal of reducing crime and building trust between law enforcement and communities served. The team at the COPS Office looks forward to supporting you as you implement this important work. In the coming days, COPS Office will release your award package via the Justice Grant System website. At that time, you'll receive an automated email. I want to extend my personal appreciation for your efforts and congratulate you on this award. On behalf of the staff of the COPS Office, we look forward to working with you on this important project. This really is an enormous, enormous win, because the PA system repairs we asked for those funds in capital, and now we don't need the capital funds. With $310,000, we can get going on this work. There are safety concerns with the PA system going in and out. I don't want to say it's not working, because they have found a way to make it work, but it's time. It's time that we upgrade it, and this is just a huge win. I do know that Ms. Mackey-Knowles was thinking, yeah, we're never going to get it. And so to get it, congratulations. They put a lot of effort and energy into this grant. It's wonderful, wonderful news.
So is that a one-time, 1 year
It's a one-time
for
allocation.
that project?
Yes.
When do you anticipate the project?
I know that
Yes.
Mr. Casper was a big part of this grant writing, so he's all over it. I just let him run with it, quite honestly.
So I can't remember if this was in last town meeting's budget for capital. Does that mean that,
It was going to be in this year's.
it was going to be in this year's?
Special town
Yes,
meeting.
special
Okay,
town meeting.
so it was not approved money?
No,
Okay, well, that's
it was
good.
not approved money. It's an ask we can withdraw,
Okay.
which makes me feel really good, because it demonstrates, the grant opportunities our district is pursuing. And even with this minimal grant of $10,000 for our chronic absenteeism, we're going after everything. And so any kind of revenue source we can find, we're pursuing.
I'm sure you already,
great.
I'm sure you already do, but if we can keep tallies of that so that you can report that into the town, that'd be great.
Uh,
I know that
Mrs. Stella does.
I know that Herrick is. I know that Mr. Herrick is on it.
I just have, actually, I was thinking in a similar vein, so thank you for
Yep.
raising those points. Playing devil's advocate, instead of saying, we're good on the money that you thought you were going to be requesting, is there another priority that we should be thinking of and apply it towards that? That could be.
Well, you mean the grant money?
Not the grant money, the capital money. Is there
It
something
was
here
very
that?
specific to this
yeah.
project. So because it was specific to this project, it's kind of a one-to-one.
Okay,
It doesn't mean that Mr. Casper hasn't submitted a whole lot of other capital requests. And so this was one that we felt was timely, so we were putting it into special town meeting.
all right. I was just thinking from a priority standpoint, if there was something that was on your wish list, but you kind of said, well, not this year, that maybe you could put.
No, I
on the
think
list.
Like whatever's next in line.
Right.
Yeah,
I-
capital,
but-
it's already a list, right?
He's already put in the list for the FY '25 budget. This was just kind of an emergency, last-minute, special town meeting thing. So there isn't anything else we would put it towards, because this project is gonna consume enough time that he's gonna need to work on this.
Is this one of those summer projects?
No, this is a now.
Oh, really?
That's how urgent it is, yeah.
Right.
Well, I can say anecdotally, when I was at seed training last week, they were doing Bell and PA testing, and the teachers were talking sort of anecdotally about how problematic it's been. So it's great to see that very quickly this is
Yes.
changing. Also, interestingly enough, and I know I questioned the validity of it, was spending all sorts of money to upgrade our telephone system, and I thought, well, that seems kind of like old technology. But almost every teacher in that room was like, oh no, this is a game changer for us.
Absolutely.
So it was really good to hear, like, from the users, how important this is.
What was it? Last year when I moved my office, or I have a satellite office here, Mrs. Steller and I would talk on the phone, and we were told you couldn't be more than a minute because you get cut off. We literally would talk on the phone, and in a minute, we would get cut off from each other. And then the fix was,
Or
you can
cell
only
phone.
talk for a minute.
Or use your cell phone,
Yeah.
that was more reliable.
Yeah,
actually,
cell
than
phone,
the
yes.
landline.
So every time she would be at the middle school and I would call from here, and the answer was, you just have
Start
to use
the
your cell
clock.
phone or just not longer than a minute. And our conversations are much longer than a minute, so, yeah, so it was urgent. And that concludes my report. A lot of good stuff.
It really is. School committee chair updates. I had a tri-chair meeting. Everyone was there except for the chair of the select board couldn't make it, but the rest of us had a great meeting and discussed, oh my God, it's like I can't even talk. Discussed everything that we sort of talked about last meeting, and Stella's memo about just sort of where we are as a school district right now with the pressures of the new out-of-district placements and some of our other pressures. And I think that we have a nice collaborative agreement, you know, in theory anyway. And I know that Ms. Stella is meeting with Ms. Sorrow at some point, right? And then maybe I don't know what Patrick's last name is.
Bloody.
Letty.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Letty. So they're gonna be working on
Find a solution?
trying to think about if there's a stabilization fund, or increasing the special ed stabilization fund to sort of cover our costs above a certain amount, and thinking about other stabilization funds that might help us. So more information to be coming about this, because it's kind of exciting that we had a really good, productive meeting. So that was great. And I know, are you going to speak to the FinCom next week?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of Gargi Cooper, and since I wasn't at the meeting, it's easy for me to say, did you follow up with a memo that they agree with what you heard?
I was gonna ask.
No.
You probably should.
It's the one thing that rings in my ear that
Yeah, I know.
Gargi asked me all the time, and she was totally right about
Yep.
it.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
Because it's so,
I know, we
it's so
just say it.
easy to trust.
I was gonna do that after the meeting that you missed, and I never got a chance to, and took some notes. I mean, we can take a stab at it, and, you know, I don't wanna.
Yeah, I think that,
I want
Yeah.
to, I want
I
to
know- I
say
know-
that, first
I
of
know
all,
what you're
I want to say that I really appreciate that you come and you speak to this group about this, because I don't think that it's necessarily done the same way with all the committees. So I appreciate the, that it's
yeah,
right
no,
out there.
I would say that, I don't know what discussions that the other committees have, but I would have to say Mr. Hartman, for sure, is really, really interested in informing his committee, and I think that he invited Ms. Stella there purposely to sort of help explain what he's been saying about the meetings.
Mhm.
So I think that, I mean, I Mr. Grishman wasn't there at our last meeting, but
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Okay.
The fact that FinCom's interested in where our FY '24 budget stands right now,
Yeah.
it, to me, is progress.
I am skeptically happy.
All right, well, you know what, just stop
Cautiously
right there, we'll take it.
I know, right,
Just stop, just stop, we'll take it.
Well, because at the end of the day, they're not the decision makers.
Yeah, but I think the fact that we're talking about this now, and we're not talking about this in January or March, is huge.
Couldn't agree more with you.
So, and so we were talking about solving Q1 problems now, rather than waiting and doing it retroactively is
Big.
great. Like,
Yeah, it's
And
big.
I also think it was fascinating for Mr. Hartman to see that Ms. Stella reported one thing 1 week. 2 weeks later, there was a different number, and understanding the reasons why. Because we can sit there and say, the school department budget is really hard to budget for, it's very fluid. But we came back 2 weeks later and a number was different. And I think, there's no arguing that.
Yeah.
So it's educating.
I mean, Senator McInerney's been asking that for years, especially as it relates to special education, so I think it's really validating.
And I think I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Stella. I think everyone was really happy with the memo she had written, and that's sort of like an exemplar for the other boards to sort of do the same, like, and keep us all informed. So I'm hoping we get a memo from the select board and the FinCom at some point to just sort of update us and educate us about what's going on. So, I mean, I think it was
a great
good.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
look,
really
my skepticism has nothing to do with who's at this table, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, we're gonna just close this discussion with that positive note. The other thing I know I brought up the other day is to have additional committee members, and I want to bring up the Nahant and Boston committee members again. And I was thinking about what you guys said about, then we have to ask CPAC and this organization and that organization, but the truth of the matter is anyone that's from Swampscott has a voice through us and elections, but these two groups don't. And that's my plug to say why maybe these two voices need to be heard. We talk about making decisions and making sure that the right people are at the table, and I'm not sure. I don't think we need to increase the size of this committee, but I think having non-voting members that participate and that can report back to their constituents and educate us about their needs only makes us stronger. And I have no idea if there's an appetite for someone in Nahant or someone in Boston. It's not even something I've approached. I know that I told you about that, or back last year, one school district did it, and I think 2 weeks ago another school district signed on a MECO school committee member. But I just wanted to have a discussion and see if it's something I can explore more, or talk to these boards, or see what you all thinking, because I know we think about it, it's a good idea, and then we talk ourselves out of it. So, anyone?
Well, I'll jump in, because God knows I have opinions, you know that.
Yes, I do.
I've thought a lot about this, and I just wrote down what I was thinking. I take this role, and I know everybody does here, very seriously as an elected official. And as a town elected position, I'm here at the choice of our voters to represent what's in the best interest of all of our students. And in fact, over a decade, we've occasionally had to respond to what's good for the district versus what's good for some. As such, I think that means that connecting with and listening to a variety of special interest groups is important. And they inform us about different perspectives, and it's really an important part of who we are as representatives, is really listening. At this time, I don't see adding 2 non-voting members to our board, because as a school committee, we're really here to represent all of our students and not subgroups. For example, we don't have members who specifically represent the elementary schools, or specifically represent the LGBTQ community, or particular neighborhoods, or the high school PTO, or student athletes, or special ed students, or ELL students. We could all go deeper with this. Because while special interest groups are important for helping us identify problems and instrumental in helping us form opinions, I believe that we can do this by developing liaisons as needed. We've got 3 responsibilities: managing the superintendent, budget oversight, and district policy. So moving to include non-elected members could transform this body into silos of special interests that move beyond what our committee is responsible for. And who here wants to make a decision about who else gets a seat at the table? I really value the opinions of the METCO parents, and I want to continue to ensure that they're a vital part of our community. But I think that our METCO director has an important part to play here. And so in the same way that our special ed students have Ms. Raymond advocating for them, I think that our METCO director could and should be doing the same. Just as principals represent their buildings, and as far as Nahant goes, they're our customer at this point, and until they choose to be a part of our district, I don't think that there's a spot at the table there. So I think that we're all very careful to ensure that we're making decisions for a whole body and not any one particular group. So I hesitated to say this because I don't want to come out against METCO representation, but I just don't think it's the right thing.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I agree with you on so many. It's not a body to have special interest groups, and I guess I was looking at METCO not as a special interest group, but I don't know, like trying to. I mean,
Like we want to weave them in.
Yes, and having the METCO director, or having a METCO director here, or on conversations where we're making decisions that impact every student, it's nice to hear a perspective of how it impacts a particular group of students that has to be on the bus longer during the day, or has to,
Sure, but why
whatever,
couldn't we could argue then that, why, right now there aren't any parents of elementary school kids on here. So do we not represent them equally?
No, I'm not saying I totally get what you're saying, and I think you're right. I think we do a good job of sort of saying, how is this group affected, and how is that group affected, and are we raising enough money so everyone can do the program, or whatever. I think we do a good job of it, but we're not always going to be here together. And but I totally hear what you're saying, and I'm not even suggesting this is a. I think there's a way to include the voices, and I know we go to the METCO once a year. Hopefully we do that again this year. But it's like,
it'd be nice to have them come, even if it's on Zoom. It'd be nice, and to see Ms. Ogumbona more often.
yeah.
So I want to dovetail on what you said. I just real up front, I don't think we should do this at all. Again, I think every group is important. I really don't want to marginalize anybody, and just looking at the hard numbers, which is what I was looking at. So we have 55 or 56 METCO students. We have 110 from Nahant, again, approximately. We have a total school population of about 2,100. But there are, a combined almost 700 special ed students, around that same number in sports. And again, as Amy was saying, there's ELL, there's everything. I would be very happy to have a liaison with, someone from the METCO program or Nahant, join us. Whether we have something special on an agenda once a month or anything like that. I do think that as an elected body, we do represent all 2,100 and change students. And I don't want to put one group of students in front of another. So while it was an intriguing idea, I did give it a lot of thought. I went back and actually looked at some of the notes from last year, and we were talking about Wellesley was the one who added it. And just doing a little research on Wellesley, they're twice the size of us. They have 4,300 students. They have about 150 in METCO. They have a budget of about $87 million. So while I think there's definitely some merits, I just don't think it's within. I just don't think it would be a positive thing for this body. Again, if there is something that affects the various populations of students, we should definitely reach out to, whether it's the METCO coordinator or whether it's the Nahant school committee, and invite them to attend. Again, anyone can come to a Zoom meeting, and anyone can make a comment. If there's an item that really any group would like added to an agenda, they can certainly speak to the superintendent or to yourself, and to add it to the agenda. I just don't think that this is something we should pursue.
I'm also in favor of the liaison.
I think
I definitely, and I understand why you picked these two areas. Like, I get that. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily put them in the same group as like every other interest group, but I am definitely have more of an appetite for a liaison type position than a member position.
So I was just thinking, I went to almost every PCO meeting last year, right? And I participated in many of the meetings, but none of those people, none of those families that were at those meetings have come to us to participate. But I was thinking maybe if we asked them to designate one of their people to be a liaison, instead of just
I think if an invitation sounds.
Yeah, I think an invitation to them is a good way to start, because I think that some of those women are so smart, have such great ideas. They're just really interesting, and I think
And
that
it's a very different perspective.
it's a very different perspective, and I just think it's a valuable perspective.
Me too.
And I think that's a good place to start, asking if they want to have a liaison so that they can call and ask. Anyone can call and ask anything, right? But sort of an invitation to do it.
I would, it was disappointing when we went to METCO last year, was it? That
Yeah.
we didn't have any participation. And I'm sure that was just a communication somewhere along the way that just didn't happen, and what my expectations were. But I was disappointed. And I don't see it necessarily as a lack of caring. I see it absolutely as a lack of engagement between us. So I think to what you're saying is we've got to change the engagement.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a liaison's a great idea. I do, and because I think any group can offer, something that we can all learn from.
Yeah.
But I think the liaison's the way to go if we're going to do this.
Yeah, it's one thing for us to go to meetings and report back to this group. It's another thing to ask them to come.
To hear their voice.
Right.
And
No, I think
Suzanne,
that's-
I just want to say I agree with what Glenn and Amy have said, as well as Karen. I like the liaison idea. Like you, Glenn, I gave this quite a bit of thought and did some reading on it as well. And I know in the time I've been on the committee, no matter who it is, we've always extended the invitation if anyone wants to come here. But I think taking that extra step has been suggested, we actually, extend that invitation and put them on a calendar at some specific date. Maybe that will help improve the level of engagement.
Yeah, and I think engagement's key, like,
Yeah.
from parents and, from the families here and there, for sure. All right, table that one, and I'll just, I'll talk to Miss O and maybe, the PCO, go to a PCO meeting.
Who's the head of the PCO meeting these days?
Well, that's a good question. Miss O has been a little MIA with those PCO announcements.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there has been one yet this year. Oh, there has been one.
But I don't know who
Who
the
is
leader is.
Miss O usually organizes.
Right. But do they have board members in their PCO? It used to be Quanda Boyd.
Yeah, so Quanda still does it,
Okay.
and so does Donna. Her last name is escaping me. But, yeah, it's usually Miss O that calls them.
Say,
Right, John Copley,
Coakley?
I don't think that's her last name. Donna?
John Copley's mom. I don't know if she's on the board, she's mom.
Oh. Anyway, okay, on to the subcommittees, bargaining. What's going on with that?
We have been meeting pretty,
Can I just interrupt, just before you?
Yes.
Oh, no, I read it wrong. Get it. Never mind.
John and I have been meeting with the tutors. We've just gotten back after the summer. And we've got a lot of tentative agreements so far. And sorry, I don't mean to leave you out, Ms. Stella.
Oh, that's fine.
We've got a whole bunch of tentative agreements. We are waiting on a wage proposal. I will be carefully candid in saying it's been an interesting process because apart from the MTA rep and the SEA rep, there has not been a consistent rep from this new union. And sometimes nobody from this new union. So it's their right to have whomever they want representing them. But it makes for questions that can't be answered in the moment. So I think that's,
a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a goal, like a timeline, like a?
nope.
I mean, it's sort of they're driving the bus, right?
We don't know who's driving the bus.
Right.
Very eloquent right there, how you said that.
It's kind of hard to, is it losing steam? Was someone driving this initiative to begin with that's not here anymore?
I don't know.
Oh,
I have a feeling it might be the MTA, but I don't know.
oh. Huh. All right, so is there anything with the custodians happening right now?
No, we had an internal meeting scheduled for this week that had to be rescheduled. And that was for both the custodians, that was just for our team to meet, to talk about the custodians and the administrative assistants.
Their contracts end in 2024, so it's to open bargaining
Yeah.
again.
So they sent us an official request to open bargaining.
It seems like we just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
we've
Does
acknowledged
Yeah,
it,
it
and
seems
we
like we
will,
just did this.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that they want to, I think Superintendent, it was you who said, they wanted to sort of open this up, particularly as the new building is coming online, and,
Correct.
and there's gonna be some, I guess there are some lots to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh.
Makes sense.
All right, so the next thing was the policies. I think it was a few weeks ago that we looked at some more policies that had to have some changes, like minor changes. I don't know if anyone got a chance to look more clearly at them. I think, John, you said you did.
I did.
Should we want to take it like one at a time? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we could do that. Is that okay with you, Karen?
Are they all substantive and we can do them sort of as a group, or would they, I mean, I feel like most of them were, or should we do them one, yeah.
Well,
Well, let's
I
just-
think one at a time makes more sense. There's quite a few that I have no comments on.
Okay.
Okay, let's just
So
go
we
through
can-
the
we
ones
can
you have
probably
comments
just-
on, and
Okay.
we can just change them right now, or we can discuss the changes. I could just pull them up.
All right, I'm going off of your list here.
Yeah, just tell me what number.
It's AD is the first one. That's okay. I didn't have any comments on that.
Okay,
ADC's the next one.
wait, do you want to just comment on it, AD, to see like what, is there something specific you want to change or you want to discuss?
I had no feedback on this
Oh,
one.
I thought you said you
Yeah.
did have feedback on that
No,
one.
sorry.
Okay, sorry.
You know what? I'm bringing this closer.
Yeah,
Nope,
just go to the ones you
no
have.
feedback.
Yeah, just tell me which ones you have feedback on, and I'll bring it up.
I'm just going in the order they're listed here. ADC, yeah, I did have some feedback on this one.
Okay,
So, my feedback on this one was that my suggestion was we delete or at school-sponsored events. That's the part that's in green. I don't know if it's already been deleted. I wasn't sure, so I just wanted to either confirm that it's being deleted or wasn't sure what was going on here.
who put the cross between, who X'd out that?
Yeah, that may have been me. It's
Oh.
been like a month now, so sorry, I'm just,
Yeah, so
Trying to
so
remember.
anything green is something that's being added.
right. So my suggestion was to delete that. And I actually looked at the policies of a bunch of other schools, kind of in that peer group that we've been referring to. And I'd say it's probably 2/3 don't have it, 1/3 do have it. I mean, I'm not saying none of them have it. I just thought it was too ambiguous. I just didn't want students, adults getting, well, this is a school event, or, just, it looked like it could cause more confusion, so.
It seems like what pops into my head is I'm thinking you go to a sporting event at Salem, and you're hanging out outside the school, and you have a,
But that's not a school-sponsored event.
well, if you're there for your team's soccer tournament,
I was
or-
thinking of something you sponsor. But yeah, like it's at our field.
yeah, no, but I'm saying, or school-sponsored events.
So
So-
it should be like a.
so
a
if we're
SBS-sponsored events,
Well, so if we're sending a team to another school,
but that's not our sponsored event.
sure it is. It's our team's, it's our,
No, we don't sponsor the event. That school is putting on the event. We're guests at it. That's how I'm, do you know what I'm saying? Like an SPS-sponsored event. So something we're sponsoring and hosting, like a prom or a game here.
see, I
or-
didn't read this as a Swampscott school event.
That's what it means, and I would prefer to keep it in under SPS.
But we can write
school.
SPS sponsored
Yeah.
event. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's what we're
Yeah,
putting
see,
on.
I didn't read it
If the
that way
school's
either.
sanctioning an event
You what?
somewhere.
I didn't read
that's-
it that way either.
How did you read it?
I think it's important
I
that
read
it
it
be
as
in
kind
there.
of a global.
Yeah, like,
I read it as global.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can certainly put SPS in there.
SPS school-sponsored event.
Can I
So
just
it-
ask why I'm just curious, why you think it's important to add this in?
Because I feel like a house party is different than a school dance, or at the, I don't know,
yeah.
at a play,
At a
at
prom.
a play, at a, drama festival, at,
Yeah, like prom is the number one, like you think about it, that's a school-sponsored event.
but even if they have middle school dances they have, or middle school open gym, or,
See, but that would be on school
It's on
grounds.
school grounds. But something like graduation outside, graduation ceremony.
Yeah,
You know, that's a school-sponsored event on town property.
yeah,
Is that,
you can't be hammered there.
you shouldn't be, you can't be vaping there.
Yeah,
I don't know, I think that's why this is in here, and I think that's why the MASC added it this time, is to like cover those events, but, but I agree, it's totally ambiguous, like, if you really thought it was, you can't go to Salem and do something, I mean, it really is about,
you see,
Our
I
events.
saw it as like, we're sending our team to Salem, so we're paying for that bus. They are wearing a Swampscott uniform, and they decide that afterwards they want to stand outside and vape. They're not in the school, they're not, it's like a technicality,
well, I
but
mean,
they're at a
that
school
one's
event.
well, that one's covered under something else, that's like their MIAA, with sports, it's covered under their MIAA, they're not allowed to vape.
Okay.
But, to your point, I don't think the robotics team has the same
Okay,
rule, or the theater, right?
Yeah.
When they go to a theater competition,
Yeah.
I would agree with you, they don't have the same rule.
How would they know, though? I guess that's my point.
Huh?
How would they know?
they who?
How would the kids know
What do you mean?
whether this applied to them or not? I guess
The
that's
robotics
my point.
team or the drama
Yeah, right.
team or.
You know,
Well, it wouldn't, They can go to their event and vape then,
Well,
because
but
it's
they
not a
can't be-
school-sponsored event.
It
It
is,
depends on
It
how
is.
you're.
Team is our first robotics team, and it
And
is
we're
a
paying
school-
for
right,
them to
and
go.
we pay a membership, so yes,
It's a
I mean,
school-sponsored event.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so the kids we're sending are at a school-sponsored event, right?
Yes.
But the kids that are at the football game watching in Salem are not at a school-sponsored event.
sure they are.
No, the kids that are watching, who got there by themselves and paid Salem the gate receipt, are there on their own. No?
I don't,
No, I know, I'm just
I don't
saying.
think so.
No,
I know, like, on a tournament game, for instance, the superintendent is responsible for the behavior of the students, ultimately,
Yes.
or your designee. And as you go further into a tournament, that's, if we were to go, let's just say soccer, and you go out of that final tournament, you are responsible to be there, the superintendent. And if something happens, it is the superintendent's, according to the MIAA, it is the superintendent's responsibility for the behavior of the students at whatever venue it happens to be.
We've always interpreted that, even if we were visiting,
Wherever it's, right, it's school sponsored.
even if it's not MIAA, if you're a
Right.
school-sponsored event, it's a
Right.
school football game, I don't care that it's in Salem, you're representing Swampscott. That's how we've always adhered to this.
For the players and students.
Yes, and
Right.
visiting, and the students, the audience, yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't have to say SPS, it's any school-sponsored event.
Right.
Right.
We have relied on this, and I guess I say this, Mr. Jans, is that we have relied on that little phrase heavily for disciplinary action.
no, understood.
Good.
So don't take out it, school-sponsored events?
I would prefer it not come out. I think if Officer Wilson were here, he'd say the same. And Mr. Kohat.
Yeah, I would agree, actually. It's just, it needs to stay in there, because, as you said, it allows a little bit more leeway and a little bit more of the stick when you really need it.
Yeah, I mean, I think of an example, if one of our students showed up to watch a game and they were hammered, you're at a school sponsor, you're representing Swampscott.
Right.
And if that kid were to be arrested,
Right.
the headline would be
Swampscott
Swampscott
student.
student,
Right.
right,
Right.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna, change that one back somehow.
So just, I mean, if the consensus is to keep it, I guess I just want to be on record that I suggested that it be taken out, and that was my position.
Okay, John, next one?
Next one, let's see.
BB.
No comment on BB. The next one, BBBBA, let's see.
BBBA, BBBB.
My supper.
I'll give you some backup. It's okay.
Okay, so, I just actually had a clarification question on this one, on the
Which one?
It's BBBA,
All right.
and
BBBB.
it's that red sentence right at the bottom. I just didn't, is this new? I just wasn't
No,
sure.
anything that's red is being taken out, anything that's green
It is
is
being taken
out of the
out.
keeping.
Okay, so the part in red that says membership on a school committee, et cetera, that's being taken out.
I think that says that only because it's in a million other places. About,
Okay,
I think it's on the election paperwork, as a matter of fact, when you go and,
it's in so many places
Yeah.
with,
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem taking it out, I just didn't know if
Yeah.
it
Where it came
was
from.
coming in or going out. so-
sorry, red's out, green's
Okay.
in.
All right, so the next one, let's see. It's BEDB,
That one is being removed.
right. And, let's see,
You do not want to remove it?
I'm just looking at my comment, I'm sorry, like I said, it was a
Oh,
while
no,
ago.
it's totally fine.
So, yeah, my comment, yeah, was why are we removing this? And I guess my note here is that, okay, yeah, it's not always gonna be just these members. So I thought it was a good idea to just memorialize this for future reference.
Sure.
Yeah, seems kind of,
Do we send copies of the agenda to the president of the SEA and the Nahant superintendent and town clerk and the Swampscott Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen?
They all have access to it online. That might have been predated that. We do send it to the clerk.
Right,
It is posted in town hall.
so we need to change that paragraph, we would do it, and.
yeah, and so that the copy shall be sent to the Swampscott Town Clerk.
Why is my thing keep doing this?
and be available online to,
Well, by law, this town clerk has to do that.
right, yeah.
Right,
Okay,
I mean, the only other thing about this is that we can change the agenda. I mean,
The format of it.
range orders the meeting agenda, yeah. I mean, I don't care if we keep it. It was just, MASC said, this is just an operational thing, you don't need it in your policy, but we can keep it.
okay.
Okay.
Next one,
We won't vote on this one right now, we'll just change that or we can just change it right now, I guess.
And I would say also remove that last one. Agendas will be posted in each school. I don't think that's ever been a requirement. Obviously, it has been since it's here in
Where does it say that?
the very last sentence. Agendas will be posted in each school and made available to the press.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
what is this, 1962 here?
Right. I think just some of the wording needs just to be brought.
Right.
needs to
yeah,
be
just
updated.
copies of the agenda will be sent to the Swampscott Town Clerk.
And available online, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well,
So
but
do you want me to
they
take
do that.
back?
Right.
huh?
Do you want me to take this back and just update it?
I'll just do it
Take
right
it-
now so that we
take it
can
back,
just,
John. Take it back.
all right. The agenda together with supporting materials will be sent to the Swampscott Town Clerk and be available online.
Perfect.
All right, we will not remove that.
The next one, BK, right?
BG.
Have it your way. Oh, yeah,
All right.
We skipped BG.
I didn't have any comments.
Did we
Yeah,
just,
they don't all have something.
we just did BG, right?
No, that was BBBA/BBBB.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go to BG then, sorry.
Oh, wait, BJ, not BK?
Yeah.
Sorry.
BG is, actually, I have no comments on BG,
All right,
so we can go to BK.
BK was to remove one, it wasn't necessary, but,
Just give me one sec. At the school My comment here was to keep this one and add language at the beginning of that first sentence, which I put in here, at the discretion of the school committee. That way it just gives us the flexibility. I know we had talked about this the last time, but I thought keeping it with that flexibility might be a pathway forward, so I just wanted to make the suggestion here for consideration.
Like what memberships the school committee should have?
Right, exactly.
Do you think it's like, I mean, is it necessary to have a policy about it, or do you, like, that's what, at the discretion of the school committee, the committee will maintain memberships in the national, state?
By virtue of saying it's at the discretion of the school committee, doesn't it negate the need for a policy?
I mean, I just don't,
It's more like so that becomes more of a, not a policy, but just like an activity.
I guess my thought here was, I thought it was important that we maintain those memberships. We could decide which ones we thought were appropriate, but having it, again, memorialized somewhere that, we thought this was important enough to maintain these things. Again, we all agree we want to do that. It was, again, just kind of looking
or we
forward a
don't
little
have
bit.
to do any, right?
Or we don't have to do any.
I mean, I'm just saying that at some point, MASC might be irrelevant because they're getting too liberal or too conservative or something like that, but we're always going to be members of them right now because they hold all our policies. I mean,
Right, or we might say, like, we've got to cut that $10,000 fee from our budget.
right.
Was it MASC that said, remove this, it's out of date, or you
Yeah,
don't need it?
it just wasn't, I mean, I think the point was, we don't maintain memberships with national or state, I mean, or regional. I
Right,
mean, it's just, there doesn't exist, or we don't do it,
and if we wanted to, we would just vote to do it.
right?
Right.
All right, if that's a consensus, I'm fine with that. Again, this, full transparency, this is not one I wanted to die on the hill on.
Right,
I just, it was kind of like the agenda one. I just thought, kind of being a little forward-looking.
Yeah.
For the day that, none of us are here. But
okay, we're just gonna,
we're good on that then.
yeah,
All right.
I'm all for thinning that book, it's a
I know, right?
book.
One less thing
CBI,
to look at. CBI?
let's see, that is, no,
value-
yeah, no comments on that one.
Right.
CHCA. Let's see.
Approval of handbooks, CHCA.
Can we just go to the CHC just very
Yep.
quickly? And actually, I think, Suzanne, you may have
Oh, yeah, I told you.
emailed me on this
it
one.
has to
that
be
it-
coun-
We
it
have to
has to
put
be
it back to
council.
council, right, okay. I just wanted to make sure we updated that back.
It has to be council, that's the rule. All right, anything else with that one?
Yep.
All right,
The next one's CHCAE, no comments.
I think this is to remove it, yeah.
CL, let's see. This is CL.
The CL, yeah?
Yeah, so my question here, I just wanted to kind of take the temperature of the committee on this one. If, again, I don't know how strongly folks feel on this one. It just, kind of in that same theme about, memorializing what is going to be produced for the committee. And I know, Superintendent, you spoke a little bit on this one maybe 2 meetings ago. But again, I just was wondering what the committee thought of keeping
I
this
think
one.
I think this policy probably predates superintendent evaluation. I think that, I mean, I don't know that it does, because I don't know if there was a date on the policy, but certainly with the superintendent evaluation, the way it is right now, I don't think you have a choice, but, I mean,
Especially a formalized, like a statewide evaluation like we do.
but also, this is our
This is our job.
job. I mean, we have to ask the superintendent to give us information about budgets. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would agree with removing it, but,
The fact that there's no date on it is concerning.
no, there could have been a date on the real
No,
one,
but
but not all the policies are dated. Like, they're very.
It seems very, like we have a policy that we're gonna do our job.
Right.
I mean, I read it that way too. I thought it really was kind of outdated.
It
at
does
this
seem
point.
old, yeah.
Okay,
All right,
don't die on this one either, John.
Yeah, I don't wanna die on
we
these.
can move on. I think the last one is CM, right?
Yep.
No feedback on that one, so that was it.
Okay, then. So, we need a motion to take a vote on AD, AC, well, I can read through the whole list.
Well, we're not doing that till actions and votes, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just kidding.
So building committee.
Oh, yeah, school building committee. Just a reminder, you guys are all invited on next Thursday. Apparently, someone can't make it because she has something better to do. But the finance committee and the board of selectmen have been invited as well, and it's just an opportunity to show off where we are so far. You guys are going to be impressed, because hopefully by next week, big windows in the front of the building will be in.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Get to go inside?
Huh?
Get to go inside?
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring a waiver, you guys can just sign it at the site, but I think that, that's the intent. You know, with the time change this weekend, it's gonna be dark probably by 4, so we'll see the outside of the building quickly and then go in. I mean, there's lights. I mean, it's beautiful to see it during the day because it's so bright inside, but, you'll still get the full effect. I'm hoping. Anyway, that's the good news.
We'll all wear headlights on our,
Yeah, we could.
I have one at home.
I have one.
I'll put it on my hard hat.
Okay. Yeah, and don't forget to wear appropriate shoes for the
Yes.
site. The site right today was really hard to walk on. There were so many trenches and just, it's crazy because they're just digging, the trenches for the
Cheryl
wells.
said that, yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
And we're walking over from Universalist. I know that last time I was there, they said they didn't want us parking on site anymore.
Oh, you know what, it's probably, so you can park at the Universal Church in the very back parking lot that's gonna be the road. You can park back there, because by 3:30, a lot of the trucks will have left and there'll be spaces.
Yeah, because we tried to get on site and they were like, stay off site.
Yeah, you can't go in the main door right now. There's just a lot of activity right there.
Right.
But,
So park over there and walk across the field.
yeah,
Yes.
you can't really walk well, it's no field to walk across anymore.
Oh, that's right.
But,
You get out of your car, you're at the
I
school.
think that, I think that we'll meet you there with hard hats.
Okay.
And, high-vis vests, because I think that,
Especially in the dark.
you have to, yeah, anyway, you're gonna be excited. All right then, now we're on actions and votes.
Nope, public
Comment.
comment. That
Oh, public
nobody's,
comment, but,
there are no attendees, so.
and, well, here's my comment.
0 and 0, so.
All right, so now we're on actions and votes. So, can someone make a motion to accept these 12 policies as edited tonight?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes, and we have 2 donations. The first one, these are nice. Where's my agenda? The first one is some musical equipment. It's being donated in memory, which is always just really special. So, this family is donating $3,000 worth of equipment, so, for the music department. Speakers, microphones, music stands, mic stands. Lenny Dunn, who recently passed away unexpectedly, was the uncle of an SHS graduate. Drummer for over 30 years, playing locally on the North Shore and Boston music circuits, and would be happy knowing his equipment was being put to good use. So, does anyone want to make a motion to accept this money?
I'll make a motion to
Or
accept.
equipment, I should say.
I'll make a motion
A
to
second.
accept this musical equipment.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next one is a panoramic photo of Swampscott. Do we know where this is going, Superintendent?
We don't. It is being stored right now until we decide where it's going. And certainly the committee, I would ask the committee to chime in. There's lots of places. It's 7 feet by 27 inches, but it's of Swampscott, and you can see the
Can't-
football
I
field.
don't know how I can spin it right now.
I know.
It's
Um,
7 feet?
I think it's 7 feet by 27 inches, and you can see, I don't know if the picture shows
Yeah.
it beautifully, you can see the football field. It's just beautiful.
Is there a place it could go in the new school?
Well, I didn't.
I don't know. I mean, you're gonna have to decorate the administrative offices for sure.
I could see it going in the middle school offices right now, in one
Right.
of the conference rooms. But I didn't know if we might want to save it for, because Casey's storing it right now. I could find a million
Yeah, I'm
places for it
sure.
right now.
I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think we should try to hang
Yeah.
it out.
Okay.
It can always
Okay.
be-
It can always be moved.
Right.
I was gonna say, frame it, and then it could be moved.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be in the large superintendent's conference room.
So this is nice. The Geron Family Foundation is giving it, and I just want to give a shout out to Bobby Z. He takes a lot of panoramic pictures of Swampscott. He's always on Instagram. You always see him. And just on a side, I've gotten to know him personally. Nice guy, but he also worked on the new school. He was one of the steel workers on our
Oh.
school.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
Terrific.
just give a shout out to Bobby Z.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right? Isn't that great? So does someone want to make a motion?
I'll have it delivered then, because I didn't want to be greedy and say, oh, it can be in my conference room, because it's just gorgeous right now.
No, I think it.
I think you
it's-
should.
Yeah, like hang it up.
Yeah, I think it's a nice
It
thing
can
to
be
show off.
moved, yeah.
All right.
A motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Superintendent, is that something we can create, like a little
Sure.
card that goes next to it that
Yeah,
acknowledges Bobby Z and the Geron
We
family?
could do a little metal.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. Okay, the next is the consent agenda, but we don't even have to do it as a consent agenda. The only thing on it is to approve the regular session minutes from October 26th.
Did we have to vote on the
Oh, the field
nature's
trip.
classroom?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Can someone make a motion to approve the nature classroom 6th grade field trip?
I will make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now the regular session minutes from October 26th.
I'll make a motion to accept.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a
Final thing
motion to
is a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
You're getting ahead of me. Second it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.